Again, I want you to learn to be aware. You've got spiritual dynamics going on everywhere all the time. Now, as a culture, we're not all that aware of it, but it is going on. So, even with weather changes affect our body. And so on given days you feel tired, or you feel giddy, or you feel whatever, and so you've got dynamics going on out here. Then you've also got dynamics going on in here, and the word that we use for the dynamics going on the inside tend to, probably the best word is usually character. But it's obviously not character, because you know how much you change from one day to the next. You watch a TV show, or you listen to music, or you go to bed mad at somebody, or whatever. Okay, so you've got that, and so your character, your spiritual man on the inside, is this dynamic person that's like has this capacity that's like huge. So on a given day, to me, a great illustration I use in one of the books, it's like the difference between the hard drive and what's showing up on the screen. What's showing up on the screen is one particular file out of this entire hard drive. So on a given day, it's like you have this one particular file open, plus you're dealing with externals that are trying to get in, trying to get with you, trying to interact with you. Well, part of learning how to do life at that point is just being able to step back and kind of be aware of what's going on. What files are open? How's this happening? How do I respond to this? If you think about it. So you might have a given day where, wow, I'm feeling this. Okay. That's not the totality of your person. And I think that's a lot of times the mistake that people make in terms of the program. If you have certain kinds of files open 3, 4, 5 days in a row, you start figuring, oh, I'm good. It's all good now. And then you hit the 6th day and something new, completely new or different gets triggered at a high level. Oh, I thought I was done with that. I thought I'd fixed that, and the answer is, not so much. Your hard drive is this infinite thing that is so amazing, so complex, that it will take you the rest of your life to really be at a place where that whole thing is transformed and consistent. You don't. It's funny, the people who have been here for longer, they've been here the year and a half, and they're like, I'm just getting started. Yeah. Now, hopefully you have the tools to begin to do that away from here. But yeah, you're just getting started. You start seeing that full complexity. So that's where it takes you back to just being aware in a realistic sense. So what's going on? You're in a better place. Hallelujah. You're in a better place, Okay, tomorrow you might wake up in a bad place, and it might be 6 weeks before you're in a better place again, Well, if you actually are understanding what's going on and you're seeing more of the dynamics, it gives you, okay, I hate to say this word because, but it gives you a little more control over what's going on and how to respond in a healthy way. So, do you have any ideas? Why are you in a better place today? Now, that's cool in terms of you're able to identify in the last few days people who are meaningful to you, reached out to you, and the fact that they reached out to you gave you a sense of meaning. That tells us who you are. Now, there's a problem here. That means you're kind of dependent on people around you, and if they're not responding well, you're in trouble. So which side of your life you're frustrated about work, but you're getting personal people feeding into you. You're responding well. So what does that tell you? Which side is bigger? Well,
Probably the healthy side.
no, the personal side. The fact that you've got your work side over here, which that's meaningful to you, and making progress is meaningful to you. But when the personal side, even though the work side's not going great, when the personal side, you're having people reach out to you and you're having meaningful conversations with people and you're feeling appreciated, loved, etc. Whoa, you walk in here and you're doing well. You're feeling good. You're feeling good about life. That tells you how important that other side is to you. Now, you don't have the power to force other people to respond to you a certain way, which means that your life at that point is, oh, wow, whether or not I'm doing well or not doing well is dependent on whether people are reaching out to me. So there is a level. You have to know that about you, and you have to understand that, okay, I'm going to tend to be up or down according to how people are responding to me in terms of them taking initiative. But what could you do that might make that more likely and more positive on an ongoing basis? Whoa. Maybe, just maybe, you could reach out to them. The man who shows himself to be friendly will have many friends. Now, let's just take this a step farther. When work is going well, or when you're heavy into work, what happens over here on the friendship side? There is no friendship side. I'm too tired. I'm too distraught. I'm not reaching out to people. Which, if I'm not reaching out, if there's no level of connection, they're probably not reaching back, and it just kind of disappears. So maybe you learn a little bit about, oh, this is who I am. And when I'm struggling, if I will do what? Reach out to people, I might have more better days in my life. And especially when they're reaching back and I'm feeling some level of care and concern there. Good. Anybody else? Let's just process. Where are you right now? Why are you in a good place? What helps you be in a good place? And is there something you can do that would actually maybe make that a more regular response instead of a, oh, I had one day, yay. So, again, getting better at passing off stuff. Your high-level intercessor, getting better at passing off stuff that's not yours. Identifying, oh, I'm feeling this right now. This is not mine. This is someone else's. And again, sometimes you can do that as an intercessor. You can do that by praying it through. Sometimes, this is a horrible rendition, but if you grab a dog, there's a scripture, if you grab a dog by the ears, you're going to get bit. Especially one that you don't know and you're not friendly. I mean, if you've been around a dog and you reach to grab, what do they do invariably? That old jaw whips around and it's nipping at you, okay? There are times as an intercessor, and this is the spiritually sensitives in the room. How many spiritually sensitives do we have? Where you walk in the room and you're picking up on stuff and it's not necessarily yours. You walk in the room, you're picking up on stuff, and if you don't know the difference, you own it as if it was your own. So you walk in the room, if anyone's having a bad day, you're instantly having a bad day. That's an awful place to be. Okay? Now, if you are a spiritually sensitive, especially in more of the intercessory area, you're picking up on other people's stuff and you're responding to other people's stuff at that level. If you don't know the difference between, oh, this is not mine and this is mine, You're having bad days day after day after day. And the only reason it is because there's somebody in your circle that's having a bad day. So if you figure out and if you find out that, oh, I am a spiritually sensitive who is very much picks up on other stuff, and unless I process it, it becomes my stuff. All right? Now, what I'm talking about here, then you divide that out. There are places where my language, you have authority. There are places where you don't, i.e., there are places where you can pray it through or walk it through or whatever, and it's absolutely going to change what's going on. Most of you give me a level of trust. So if you sit down with me and we spend 30 minutes together, the vast majority of you, because there's trust there, wherever there's trust, wherever there's a legitimate connectedness, wherever that's there, there's authority. So most of you, because you choose to trust me, not because I'm incredible, okay, but because you choose to trust me, most of you, if you've spent 30 minutes with me and you stop and take a look, it's like, okay, I'm in a better place. I'm in a different place than I was when I started. So as an intercessor, when you walk into the room, there's going to be situations where you have the spiritual authority, whether it's trust or relationship or whatever. There's going to be places where you have the spiritual authority to make a difference. And if you will simply pray it through, you'll literally find the presence of that particular person, or maybe even the entire room will change. And when that happens, kind of like Sally, when that happens, it's your area, and things changed in your area, you feel good about you. Okay, so that's what's going on. So if I'm an intercessor, I've been able to pick up on something, I've been able to pray it through, I all of a sudden feel like, wow, I have significance. This is meaningful to me. Now, if I'm an intercessor and I'm grabbing a dog by the ears, what does that mean? There's something there that I can't touch and I'm not going to fix. There's a level there where me learning to just like, nope, not mine. You tell yourself it's not yours. You walk about it, and you in a sense, you move your spiritual sensitivity. Now, this is not easy to do, but you move your spiritual sensitivity back to a place that is more of a happy place. Because if you don't have the ability to fix the sad place, why should I just be eternally sad? Yes. Okay. Intercessor, the basic biblical definition there, you are created to connect with others at a high level, to feel their pain, to feel their dysfunction, to feel their struggle, and then spiritually you identify and connect with that person in a way that it really pulls some of that heaviness off from them. Then you pray for it on their behalf, hand it off to God, receive something from God, and then you pray that peace or that joy or that life back onto them. In the process of that, you have partnered spiritually with them in a way that's made their load lighter, set them free to be able to handle life. Now, people who are intercessors at a high level have a high degree of awareness of other people, spiritual sensitivity of other people. They pick up on their stuff. They feel their stuff almost automatically. If you have that going on, then you need to figure out how to take the next step of where you get that stuff handed off to God. You receive something from God, and then you pray that back over the person. You have to learn, and this is crazy, but you have to learn to figure out is, simple question. If you're intercessory, how many of you think you have that spiritual sensitivity, intercessory stuff going? We got one for sure, two. There were 3 or 4 of you had your hands up. One of the most powerful questions you have to learn to ask is, Lord, is this me? Because if you walk in and it's you, you handle it differently than if you're feeling someone else's stuff. And what I will tell you, over a period of time, you can start to figure out, and I'm there, and after all these years, there are times when I'm just struggling, and somewhere in there it's like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't me. This is such and such a situation. Just that awareness completely changes how I respond to everything, because at that point it's kind of like, oh, okay, now I know what to do, and it's just different. And I told her, and I any of you who are in that gift, hopefully you can help me with some language here. The only thing that I can tell you is it's just different. Once you start realizing, oh, this is something I'm feeling, carrying on behalf of someone else, those of you who are there, we have a whole intercessory couch over there. 1, 2, 3, all 3 of you. When you understand that it's someone else's, then you're able to step back and just, here's the difference. There's an immediate purpose for your pain. All of a sudden it's like, oh, that's why I'm feeling that way. Oh, okay. And it's like you're kicking in, just like a little bit ago when you said, okay, when people talk to me, you're created for that deeper dynamic of relationship, okay? I'm created to do this intercessory thing. Oh, see, most of us can handle pain if we see the purpose. We're all created to be able to handle the pain if we see a purpose. It's when there is no purpose that pain becomes very, very ugly. So it's interesting to get a hold of this, but what I'm really trying to get you to understand, and this is key, is get some self-awareness. If I'm that relationship person, the person who shows themselves to be friendly will have friends, and then when this cycle starts happening, I'm going to have a better life in general. When I start to understand, okay, I'm an intercessor and I'm a high spiritually sensitive, so if I handle this part of my life well, my life is going to go better. So we all agreed, we came in here, today's a more relaxed day. Now, part of that's weather, part of that's my mood, part of that's whatever. But part of it is self-awareness. What's going on with you that helps put you in that same place? We had 2 really good ones. What's going on with you? Are you aware of what's going on with you and what might be happening today? Okay? So for you, just making that choice here in the sermon and making that choice of today I choose joy, that's powerful. Now, what does that also tell us about you? See, there were other people who heard that same message and didn't necessarily get that same response. So listen to what you just said that tells us about you. I repeated it back to you if that helps you. Today I choose joy. Anybody catching it? Yeah, there are people who are more emotion-based. There are people who are more intellect-based. There are some of you, it's like, well, just help me understand. If I can understand. Okay? And, okay, I've got a grasp. Okay, I'm good now. But in your case, if you listen to your words, I've woken up every morning. I've refocused. Today I choose joy, and it's been a good week. That tells us a little bit about you, doesn't it? It tells that you're strongly will-based, which sometimes your greatest strength will be your greatest weakness, because when you're trying to choose something and it's not working, it's going to mess with your world. But this week, you've been able to choose something and it has been working. So it's been a really good week. So 2 things. Number 1, you got to make the right choices. If you're going to will stuff, you want to will stuff that's God stuff, right? And so you heard a message and you're willing something that I would say appears to be God stuff. So at that point, okay, that's good. That's good. But 2 things. Number 1, make sure that you're willing God stuff. Number 2, you got to understand that sometimes if it's a strong authority stretch, you might have to will it for a long time, over a period of time, before it really kicks in. So this week's been good because you're willing it and it's making a difference. Sometimes it's going to be a slower process and you're not going to get the results as quickly or as well. So think about that. But that, again, every one of you, you haven't understood this, but every one of you, you think you're just talking. You're telling me about you. Do you hear what I'm saying? In just a few words, every one of you that have spoken up, it's like, okay, what did we just learn about you? Which means none of the rest of you will want to speak up now. But somebody else, what's happening this week? Okay. Now, yours is much more subtle. Okay, so I'm not expecting you or anybody to come up with this one, but what does that tell you about him? He is high on an introspective scale. Does a lot of self-analysis. Would that be accurate? So for you to understand you, for you to understand how you interact with life, for you to understand how things tick, and that thing flipped to a negative early in the week, and so that self-study was really going, and there was some self-doubt, and there was some, okay, am I really doing what I should be doing, and et cetera. Well, once that happens, what's going to happen to your spirit at that point? And there's going to be worry, there's going to be self-hatred, there's going to be all kinds of stuff kicking up. And when all of that stuff's kicking up, how does that impact your body? See, it's not good. It really tears down your immune system. It tears down all of that kind of stuff. Now, the solution for that would be what? Not if you're an introspective. Now, it might be if you respect someone enough to kind of shake your world up and to get you out of that introspective realm. Talking to someone could be a good solution. But obviously, you've got to respect them enough. If you're a high-level introspective, guess what's going to happen? If you're a high-level introspective, you can talk to someone, and when you're done, you'll throw away everything they said, and then you'll go back in your corner, and you'll just stare at yourself a little while longer. You'll use the things that they said to turn the introspective scale all over again. And so before it's all said and done, you really haven't helped yourself a whole lot. You might have helped yourself for about 30 seconds while talking to someone else, but as soon as you got 2 steps away from them, the brain just starts churning all over again. You know, and now it's kind of like, okay, where do I end up? 1 Corinthians 4:4 is this. For I know of nothing against myself. This is Paul talking. Yet I'm not justified by this. But he who judges me is the Lord. Now, think about that. This is Paul. How many kind of hold Paul in high esteem? Paul says, I don't know of anything I'm doing wrong, But how much is that worth? Nothing. So let's just say you have one of your little introspective talks and you decide you're doing really great. How much is that worth? Yeah. Let's say you have one of your talks and you decide you're doing really terrible. How much is that worth? Yeah. So what is worth something? Maybe when God actually speaks. So for you to understand as an introspective, I don't really know a whole lot about me. I don't really know a whole lot about myself, and so you learn to shut that introspective stuff down and learn to get quiet and to wait on, say, God, what's your perspective? For those introspectives, they have to figure everything out. So for you to get to the point where you're not trying to figure everything out, that becomes really, really important for you in order for you to get better. And so, frankly, the only thing for you, normally what you would do, you would say, well, I'm going to do this introspective, and I'm going to learn this, and I'm going to learn that, and I'm going to make this change, and I'm going to make that change. Well, when you're done, you're kind of on a manic type of a high, and the manic high is just going to set you up for failure. If you're down on yourself, you're going to go into a self-hatred low, and that's going to set you up for failure. So for you to realize, I've got to slow this whole tendency down. With one of the other people, they talked about when people connect me, how much power do you have over that? None. So you can show yourself friendly. With you, you can recognize, oh, I'm back in my introspective zone. Need to slow it down. I need to know what God says. I need to know what he's saying. A lot of work. It really is basically taking captive one thought at a time. You literally take it and you say, nope, that's a self-thought. And you put it over here. God, I'm waiting on you. I'm listening to you. Maybe you open the scriptures and you don't read fast. You read slow. You just kind of read meditatively and say, God, are you speaking to me through this? Maybe you put on some worship music. Maybe you have no sound at all, and you just try to quiet yourself and be attentive to spiritual presence, and you're connecting with God and saying, okay, God, what are you doing? And you just learn to be sensitive to what the Spirit is doing at that moment in your life. Again, and introspectives tend to be high thinkers. Well, when you step back and realize that your spiritual flows tend to control my thoughts. So if I'm towards a self-hatred zone, guess what your thoughts are going to do? They're going to pick you apart, up one side and down the other. Now, when you're in a self-hatred flow, how reliable is it? It's not. So a lot of times the best way to start quieting myself is just go, where's my spirit right now? Oh, if that's where my spirit is, no wonder what I'm thinking, and what I'm thinking is not reliable. Boy, that's a powerful statement if you're an introspective. My thoughts right now ain't worth nothing because I'm in a self-hatred flow. They are not reliable. When you find the right stuff, the right response, you will be able to more consistently feel better and walk in a better place. Now, you still have this massive hard drive with all kinds of things out there that are affecting you that may trigger you at some point in time. So I didn't say you, I used the word a while ago, but I didn't say you have control, but you do have a greater influence at least. And you have a response that if you will come back to that response on a semi-consistent basis, many times it will start the turnaround process in your life. So what is that response? What do you need to be doing to keep that turnaround thing going? So, what response do you need to be doing on a consistent basis? You need to know what's God, and you need to will to do His will in that area. But before you go there, you step back and you find out, okay, is this God? Is this what I need to be willing? Am I in partnership with God in my willing, or is it just me? Because if it's just you, you'll be spinning your wheels and you'll be running into walls. But when you're willing to do His will, you're going to wake up and go, wow, this is working. This is good. Anybody else? Everyone else says, nope, not me today.